some of you all overthink recruiting, okay? I've done a lot of recruiting campaigns, and you got to grit to do these things. But I have been a part of one that really, really went well. We recruited 175 volunteers on a Sunday in a church of about 16 to 1,800-ish. This was in the middle of May as well, so this wasn't even like the high-attended seasons. So as we've said, there's a lot of people who rely on stage announcements. There's a lot of people who spend hours of creating testimony videos to share stories or make excellent social media graphics or set up an awesome recruiting booth, and all those things are great. But what we've said is sometimes the secret ingredient behind that, the secret ingredient behind all the different strategies and systems is grit, because you can have the same strategy, the same system, the same process, the same pipeline, but if we don't have the same grit, you won't have the same results. Okay, so we have to have the same grits. And the grittiest part of recruiting, one of the grittiest things that I see people do is, and I've done it myself and I coach teams to do it, is just to send hundreds of text messages. And honestly, some of you all need to quit geeking out and may need to stop even watching our course that you're going through right now. And some of you all just need to send the dang text. And so what I want to do today is talk to you through this grit, talk a little bit more in depth behind this really gritty move of just sending tons and tons of text messages. So let me talk to you first about the text message template. So using the text message template, one day we recruited 175 people in a church of 1,700, 100 people during COVID, and 30 people for a church plant that had literally never met or seen me before. And plus there are all kinds of others who've used the same text message template in other states and other places and other churches that I've never been to, never even, been to their state before, but have used it and it works. Okay. So I'm just telling you from years of experience, this works. And no, I'm not talking about glue. I'm not talking about ClearStream. I'm not talking about, some text in church or automated texting. I'm going to coach you to send hundreds of personal text messages from a personal cell phone number to connect personally with people about serving. So here's the text I sent, and I'll put it in the bottom here, in the caption of this video. I always send it this. I'll say, hey, and I insert their first name, which is important because you're not going to save everybody's number in your phone, so you need to know their name, so that way when they respond, you can take notes later. Okay, and so I say, hey, first name, or hey, Landon, my team and I were talking about who would be great in serving in student ministry, and your name came up. I'd love to share more about serving in students with you. I really can see you making an impact in students' lives. We're sharing more this Sunday at the Connect Center between both services. Would you want to stop by? And then you send that text to hundreds of people, okay? Now, let's break down a few pieces to this. First thing, you put their name in there. That way they know this is coming from a personal number to a person, and you actually know who that person is, and that when they text you back, you can take notes. And I say, my team, we're talking about who would be great in serving in student ministry. So what we want to do is we want to create a giant, what we call a lead list, and we can talk more about this later. But the lead list is where we create all kinds of hundreds of names of referrals and people from our system that we think would be good in serving in student ministry. And we really do mean that. Hey, we were talking and your name came up. Your name came up in our system. And I'd love to share more with you about serving with us. And then I cast vision. I could really see you making an impact on students' lives. You could change that line to whatever your vision is. I could really see you helping disciple students. I could really see you helping students learn about how they can, do whatever. I don't know. And then there's a call to action with, would you be willing to stop by? So let me break down this strategy for a moment. There's the template, but let me break down the strategy. The first thing is I'm going to send hundreds of personal text messages. So do not send an automated text message. No one cares, and people hate those things. I don't care what the gurus are telling you. People hate automated text messages. They're annoying, and they actually hurt your recruiting efforts. I know they're kind of a necessary evil, and you got to have them, but I would use your CHRM, your church database, to create these massive, lead lists of people, and then just text them all of them personally. And yes, you're like, should I do it with my personal number? Should I get a Google Voice number? Sure, you can use a Google Voice number, but the more personal you make it, the more people show up to serve. That's kind of my rule of thumb. In my last recruiting campaign, I sent 500 to 600 text messages to people I've never met before from my personal cell number, and I'm the lead pastor of the new church. So The second thing is I call them up and call them out. So I say, my team and I were talking and your name came up. I'm calling them up to serve. As my friend Patrick says, everyone wants to be chosen for their team. So sending this message saying, hey, I'm choosing you. I think you'd be great. You are who we're looking for. That calling out and calling up people to what God has called them to do is so powerful. So this is not guilt. This is not shame-based. This is us calling them up to what God has made them to do. And then number 3, I end with a question. Okay, so this is critical. I cannot overstate this enough. Do not end with a period. Always end with a question mark. Do not end with "Have a good week!" exclamation point. Question mark. No one is going to respond to you not asking them a question. So put the ball in their court. End with a question. And don't if we let them off the hook, they're gonna leave. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to say, hey, would you be willing to stop by this Sunday? I'm ending with a question. And you might read this and think, how can I, how can I might, that kind of makes me feel weird. It's kind of too upfront. Yes, that's what recruiting does. It's gritty. You are embracing a no. You're great with a no because you want to know why. Tell me why. Okay? So remember, you got to call them to action. People don't just take action. They're called to action. And you might think, hey, how do I send this many text messages? That's going to take a ton of time. Yeah, it does. But that's what gritty student pastors do. They spend the time that it takes, and the more you do it, the quicker you're going to be at it. So get gritty, get personal, get a lead list of people, and just send the dang text message. Get gritty, because we can have the same system, the same strategy, the same process, the same pipeline, but if we don't have the same grit, we will not get the same results. Thanks.